Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Leading Edge, where we're walking through and giving you a fresh take on leadership and what it takes to be effective in today's workplace. If you were with me a couple weeks ago, I talked about an experience I'd had going up the mountain in Banff, Alberta, and how that really got me out of my comfort zone and reminding me that, as leaders, we need to be getting out of our comfort zone more often. I had another Dare to Be Great scenario about 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to share some of my insights on that. It's just been turning in my mind for these last 2 weeks. I didn't actually know what I was going to say. I think I'll probably do a couple episodes on this, but today I just kind of wanted to introduce a couple of the most compelling concepts that came out of it. What do you need to know? First, I had the opportunity through a wonderful client of mine to go to a keynote speech with Dr. John Izzo. If you don't know him, he is the author of a few books: Five Thieves of Happiness, The Five Secrets You Must Discover Before You Die, and the one that I have referenced most often in my work, which is Stepping Up, taking your responsibility and how that changes everything in your life. One of the things that Dr. Izzo talks about in his book is this notion of 100% zero. And he talks about it is, we got to take 100% responsibility for everything and really give no excuses, zero excuses as to why things don't happen. So, I talk a lot with leaders and ask them, what are your biggest challenges? What do you need help with? And often, the things I'm hearing, well, things would be great if they just did what I asked them to do, or they just don't get it, or they're not getting it, and I keep trying, but we're still here, or they're just not motivated, and there's nothing I can do. Well, that would fall into his zero percent excuses category for all of us. And listen, I've been there before. I get it. Some days are tougher than others, but really want to focus in on some of the 100% stuff. What is the things that we can do, to focus in and get our people aligned? So how do we shift that language from it's their fault to it's our fault? Because as I talk about in sessions, we're the ones setting those expectations for people. So as leaders, are we being crystal clear about what those expectations are? Are we having people recite them back to us in a way where we know leaving, they understand it? What's our part of why they're not motivated or engaged? So I guess what I'm asking is for all of us to just sort of take that look back in the mirror and figure out how we might be contributing some of the things we're not getting as a leader. That alone probably would be lots here, and that's a great start for this. But I wanted to go back and piggyback off of my comfort zone talk and talk about two things that really struck me from Dr. Izzo's talk. The first is, and he just put it so eloquently, he said, whether you believe it or not, you are the topic of conversation at the dinner table. And there's a choice, really, is, are you the person that your team members are complaining about every night? Or are you the person that they're going home and saying they're so glad you're their leader, and they love working with you and all of that kind of stuff? And that one really kind of hit home for me. I kind of was doing some internal reflection on that and have continued to do that. And, then he hit us with maybe the most impactful thing I've had in a while. It was actually his challenge to all of us in the room at the end of his speech. And he actually told us, he said, if you really want to make some change, if you want to be a better leader, he said, go out and do this. And he actually said, I pretty much think none of you are going to do this. So, I'm going to say it, and it will have a profound impact if you do. Well, I've done it. I've done all three speeches that he actually requested or suggested, as it were. And I got to tell you, I don't love the answers to it right now, but it's given me a bit of a North Star to look at and to focus on. So the first speech he said to write is, he said, go write a speech through the lens of your team as if they were giving a speech at your retirement party, what would they say about the leader that you were for them? And I think if you are willing to do that and to think about that, that alone might give you some perspective. Then he hit with two more that really hit hard for me. He said, "Write a speech from your spouse at your 20 or 30-year anniversary. What would they say about the spouse that you were over the last 20 or 30 years?" And that one hit a lot. I guess, I'm probably not always the best or easiest spouse out there, and I need to do better. But thinking about the speech and thinking about what I'd want my spouse to say about me has actually given me some insight as to where I need to pick things up. The third one probably hit the hardest for me, if I'm being honest, and it was to write a speech as if you are your 40-year-old children. What would they say about the parents you were growing up? And, this one sucks for me because I don't think I'm doing the best job that I could. And if they were to write that speech right now, I don't think it'd be very good. So, unfortunately, I guess after this talk that Dr. Izzo did at a 4.5 hour drive home from St. John, and it sucks when you're in your own mind for 4.5 hours thinking about these types of things. So, that alone was tough, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it, and what he suggested is once you write it, now do some checks and balances against it. How'd you do today? So I'd ask you, the listener, how did you do today as a leader? First of all, do you know what your North Star even looks like? And then, secondly, did you meet it today? He said also, we're not looking for perfection here. That's not what this is about. It's about getting a little bit better each and every day. What he said next was really important too. He said, and if you want to get better, start hanging out with people that will make you better. So for me, it's finding those dads that I think are really great dads, and maybe hanging out with them more, see what they're doing, talk about it a little bit. And as a leader, it would be finding leaders that you want to emulate. It doesn't mean you're them, but it means you're going to try to hang out with people that are good at what they do, and that might help. So I guess though, what it also dawned on for me, and when we do this, because in session, and this is another thing I offer for you to consider or think about, if the speech is too daunting, I get it. One of the things we do in our sessions is we get people to think about what are the words that you would use to describe the best boss you've ever worked with or for. And when we hear some of those words, I get participants to kind of look at it and go, all right, so now if you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on how you're doing with those words, what would you give yourself? And I can only give you my lived experience, but I hear a lot that I'm not there yet. I might be a 7, I might be a 6, but certainly not hearing 8, 9s, and 10s. And this leads me to kind of the so what of this is what we know and what we hear so much from leaders is this notion of what got you here won't get you there. So what got you into being a leader? Well, you were probably the best person at what you did. The reality is that those skills that made you so great technically are probably not the same skills that are going to make you great as a leader. Being great as a leader is, to know this, to know me, is to know that we believe it's about building trust and relationship and creating a safe environment for your team members to be at their best. So why listen to John Zettler? Well, don't, but please do listen to Dr. Izzo. I had the chance to talk to him for 10, 15 minutes after his keynote, and he couldn't stress enough to me the importance of building relationships and letting people know that you care. And I know that that's sometimes a misnomer for people. Well, I can't let them in. I can't let them know that I care. It might be too difficult to give them bad feedback. The other thing he talked about, which really hit home, is he said, think about the best teachers you ever had growing up. And what he said is, he said, I bet you they were pretty hard on you. And I have two teachers that I thought of. My grade 7 geography and math teacher, Mr. Kelter was his name. I still remember it, and that's a lot of years ago. And he was super hard on me. And then Miss Henderson, my grade 11 and 12 English teacher in high school, and she too was really hard on me. Why it worked? I knew that both of those teachers really cared about me as a person and wanted me to do great, and by golly, they thought I could do great, and that's why they pushed me. So what I'm actually saying is, you can be a tough leader, you can be a leader with high expectations, as long as they know that you care. I often use a quote in class: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it seems that Dr. Izzo really validated that through my discussion with him. So here's the thing. I guess I realize and recognize that most people, most leaders don't even necessarily know what good looks like. So how could you write this speech? How could you build these words to describe the best leader when you're not really sure what that looks like? And that's where we think that we can come in and help. That's what we do each and every day. So my call to action kind of for you is, you figure out what that looks like and get out of your comfort zone while doing it. To be a great leader is gonna require an investment in time. You might have to change some habits that are easy for you right now. I don't know what it is, but let's talk about it. And if not me, that's okay too. But talk to somebody about it. And just write the speech is what I would say, and live the speech is what I would say. I know over the last 2 weeks, I'm still not perfect. I'm not striving for perfection. I'm striving to be a better version of me each and every day. And I can honestly say that as a leader, as a dad, and as a spouse, I'm doing that. And that's all I can ask for. And that's what I would hope that you try as well. So, lots to think about here. If you want to chat, you can reach out to me at john@fairwindstraining.com. You can get me, text me, call me at 902-818-9087. And I'd love to chat. But whether it's me or somebody else, my call to action is chat with someone. Figure out what this looks like for you and start working on it each and every day. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.